for anyone to make a decision and shake off this mental numbness and begin to live with a clear consciousness. Allah has presented the solution to people. People who reflect can dispel this enchantment while they are in the world. They thus come to understand that all events have a purpose and an inner meaning, and are able to see wisdom in the events that Allah creates at every instant. One can think at any time and anywhere. There is no time, place, or condition necessary for thought. Anyone may think while walking on the street, going to the office, driving a car, working at the computer, attending a friend's gathering, watching TV, or having lunch. While driving a car, for example, it is possible to see hundreds of people outdoors. He who looks at these people can think about many different things. It may come to his mind that the physical appearances of these hundreds of people are completely different. People share basically similar organs such as eyes, eyebrows, eyelashes, hands, arms, legs, mouths, and noses. It is astonishing that they all look so different from one another. Thinking a little further, one remembers the following. Allah has created billions of people over thousands of years, all different from one another. This certainly is a piece of evidence of what a superior and mighty Creator Allah is. The person watching all these people rushing may be occupied by many different thoughts. At first glance, each one of these people seems a distinct individual. Every one of them has his own world, wishes, plans, ways of living, topics that make him happy or unhappy, and tastes. Yet these differences are misleading. In general, every human being is born, grows up, goes to school, looks for a job, works, marries, has children, sends the children to school, marries them off, ages, becomes a grandmother or grandfather, and finally passes away. Whether one lives in a neighborhood in Istanbul or in a Mexican city doesn't change anything at all. All of these people will definitely die one day. A century later, perhaps not even one of these people will be alive. The person who realizes all this carries on thinking and asks himself the following questions. Since all of us will die one day, why do everybody act as if they will never depart from this world? While a person whose death is certain ought to strive for his life after death, how is it that almost all people behave as if their lives in this world will never end? Such a person is one who thinks and reaches a very crucial conclusion from what he thinks. A great majority of people don't think about these issues. If they are suddenly asked, "What are you thinking at the moment?" it will be seen that they think extremely unnecessary things that won't be of much use to them. However, man is able to think meaningful, wise, and important subjects every moment from the time he wakes up until he sleeps, and derive conclusions from what he thinks. In the Quran, Allah informs us that in all circumstances the believers reflect and derive beneficial conclusions from their thinking. It is stated in Surah Al-Imran, verses 190 and 191 as follows. In the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of night and day, there are signs for people with intelligence. Those who remember Allah, standing, sitting, and lying on their sides, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. Our Lord, you have not created this for nothing. Glory be to you, so safeguard us from the punishment of the fire. In addition to all these, in order for contemplation to benefit a person and lead him to the right conclusion, he should always think positively. For instance, a person who, seeing someone far more handsome than himself, feels inferior because of his physical inadequacy by thinking about the other person's good looks, or who becomes jealous of this person, is thinking a thought of which Allah does not approve. Yet, a person who aims to earn the approval of Allah considers the good looks of the other person as a manifestation of Allah's perfect creation. Since he looks at this person as a beauty Allah has created, he derives great pleasure from it. He asks Allah to enhance the beauty of this person in the hereafter. As for himself, he also asks Allah for true and eternal beauty in the hereafter. He realizes that man can never be perfect in this world, because the world has been created with imperfections as a part of the test. His craving for paradise increases. This is certainly only one example of sincere thought. Throughout life, man encounters many instances like this. He is tested to see whether he displays good manners and a way of thought with which Allah will be pleased. His being successful in the test and his contemplation bringing favor to him in the hereafter depend on his deriving lessons and warnings from the things on which he reflects. For this, it is imperative that one thinks truthfully continually. Allah points out this fact in the Quran as follows: "It is He who shows you His signs and sends down provisions to you out of heaven. But none pay heed save those who turn unto Him repentant." Surah 40, verse 13. Certain things cross one's mind every moment of one's life. There is almost no moment, save at times of sleep, that the human mind is utterly blank. However, a great many of these are useless, futile, and unnecessary thoughts that are of no avail in one's hereafter, that lead nowhere, and serve one no good. If someone tries to remember what he thought during the day and notes it down, then looks over it at the end of the day, he would see how futile are most of his thoughts. Even if he were to find some of it useful, he would most likely be mistaken. Just as people waste time dealing with futile things in their daily lives, equally they spend time in vain carried away by futile thoughts. In Surah Muminun, verse 3, that reads, "Successful indeed are the believers who keep aloof from what is vain." Allah advises people to be strong-willed in this area. Surely this command of Allah holds true for people's thoughts as well. This is because thoughts, unless we control them consciously, continuously flow through our minds. One unconsciously jumps from one thought to another. While thinking about the shopping one will purchase on one's way home, all of a sudden one finds oneself thinking about the things a friend told one 2 years ago. This uncontrolled and useless thinking may go on uninterruptedly throughout the day. Yet, controlling thought is possible. Everyone possesses the ability to think things that will improve him, his faith, mind, courtesy, and his surroundings. When one fails to control one's thoughts and direct them towards achieving a good end, one may often feel apprehension or treat events that have not happened as if they have occurred and become led astray by grief, distress, worry, and fear. Someone who has a young person studying for a university exam, for example, may make up scenarios before the exam takes place of what might happen in the case that his child fails the exam. If in the future his son cannot find a good job and earn enough money, he won't be able to marry. Even if he marries, how will he be able to afford the expenses of a wedding? If he fails the exam, all the money spent on the preparatory courses will have been wasted and, moreover, he will be disgraced in the eyes of people. What if his best friend's son passes and his own son fails? These misapprehensions go on and on. The person's son, however, has not even taken the examination yet. Throughout his life, someone who is distant from the religion cannot resist such useless worries. There is surely a reason for it. In the Quran, it has been related that the reason why people cannot be relieved of useless anxieties is their lending ear to the whisperings of Satan. In Surah Nisa, verse 119, the promise of Satan, "Most certainly I will lead them astray and excite in them vain desires," is stated, and people are warned about it. He who is occupied with futile anxieties, who forgets Allah and doesn't think clearly, is always open to the whisperings of Satan. In other words, if man, deceived by the life of the world, doesn't exercise his willpower and act conscientiously, and if he lets himself drift in the course of events, he comes completely under the control of Satan. One of the most crucial patterns of behavior of Satan is his giving people anxieties. Therefore, all misapprehensions, pessimism, and anxieties such as, "What will I do if such and such happens?" contrived in the mind are caused by the whisperings of Satan. Allah shows people the way to save themselves from this situation. In the Quran, Allah advises people that when an evil impulse from Satan provokes them, they should seek refuge in Allah and remember Him. This is stated in Surah Araf, verse 201 to 202. As for those who perform their duty, when they are bothered by visitors from Satan, they remember and immediately see clearly. But as for their brothers, the visitors lead them further into error, and they do not stop at that. Someone who reflects sees what is right, and someone who does not goes wherever Satan drags him. The important thing is to know that these thoughts will be of no use to the person, and will, on the contrary, hamper him from thinking the truth, reflecting on important matters, and therefore purifying the mind from these useless thoughts. Man can think properly only if he frees his mind from the futile thoughts. In this way, he keeps aloof from what is vain, as Allah commands in the Quran. There are many factors that hinder people from thinking. A single one, or a number, or all of them may detain a person from thinking and seeing the truth. In this respect, it is necessary that everyone identify the factors that affect them negatively and be rid of them. Otherwise, one cannot see the real face of the life of this world, and that might bring great loss in the hereafter. In the Quran, Allah tells us the situation of those people who are accustomed to think superficially. They know an outward aspect of the life of this world, but are heedless of the hereafter. Have they not reflected within themselves?